All right, so today we're diving into something pretty crucial in C++I, especially when things start to get a little chaotic in our code. We're talking about Singleton multi-hilo.
Yeah, it's one of those design patterns that really helps bring some order to the often chaotic world of software development, especially when we're dealing with, like you said, situations where multiple parts of our application need to access the same resource at the same time.
Right, and it's all happening, concurrently, so things could get messy fast.
Absolutely. Like imagine a kitchen, right, where you've got multiple chefs all needing to use the same ingredients, the same stovetop, maybe even the same spatula.
Oh, a recipe for disaster if they're not careful.
Exactly. One chef's trying to grab the salt while another's still using it. Someone's left the stove on high. It'd be total chaos.
Okay, I'm starting to see where this is going. So is Singleton multi-halo like having, I don't know, a really organized head chef who makes sure everyone's taking turns and not messing up each other's dishes?
Exactly. That's a great analogy. Singleton multihilo is all about ensuring that even though we have multiple processes happening simultaneously, we only have one single point of access to a particular resource.
So it's like making sure there's only one person allowed in the pantry at a time to grab ingredients, preventing any culinary collisions.
Precisely. And in programming terms, that pantry is a shared resource. Could be anything from a database connection to a configuration file.
Okay, so we're talking about controlling access, making sure things happen in a specific, orderly way, even when we have multiple threads running concurrently.
You got it. And that's the beauty of Singleton Multihilo. It gives us this elegant way to manage shared resources in these, well, kind of chaotic, multi-threaded environments.
This is already making a lot of sense, so let's break down why this is so crucial, especially for those of us who might be new to the world of multithreading. What kind of problems can arise if we don't have a system like Singleton multi-hilo in place?
Oh, all sorts of havoc. Imagine two threads trying to modify the same data at the exact same time.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, it'd be a mess, right? Like one thread overwrites the changes made by another, data gets corrupted, our application crashes.
Yeah.
Not good.
Definitely not the smooth, efficient software we're all striving for. So Singleton multi-hilo swoops in to save the day by making sure only one thread can access and modify a shared resource at a time, right?
Exactly. It's like that very organized head chef or maybe even a bouncer at a popular nightclub, ensuring only one person can pass through the door at a time.
So that's Singleton multi-hilo in a nutshell. It's all about maintaining order in our code, making sure that even in these multi-threaded environments, we're not stepping on each other's toes and causing problems.
Exactly. Now, you might be wondering, how do we actually implement this in our code?
Well, that's a great question, and one we'll definitely dive into. But before we get to the nitty-gritty of the code, I think it's important to understand the concept of a singleton pattern itself, because that forms the foundation of Singleton multi-hilo.
Absolutely. So at its core, the singleton pattern ensures that a class has one and only one instance, and it provides a global point of access to that instance.
So going back to our cooking analogy, it's like having one and only one official ingredient list for the entire kitchen, right?
You've got it. Now, you might be wondering why we need this multi-hilo part tacked onto the singleton. That's where the real magic happens when it comes to dealing with our multiple threads.
Because now it's not just about having one ingredient list, it's about making sure only one chef can access and modify it at a time.
You've got it. Singleton multi-hilo is specifically designed to tackle these challenges in a multi-threaded environment. It's like our matron keeping a watchful eye on the pantry door, ensuring only one chef is inside at a time. Now imagine you're building an application where, let's say, you have multiple threads that need to access configuration settings, stuff like database connection details, user preferences, all that good stuff.
Things that everyone needs to be on the same page about.
Exactly. Now, if each thread just goes ahead and creates its own instance of the configuration class, you can see where that might cause issues.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Back to the culinary chaos, like having 5 chefs all trying to use different versions of the recipe at the same time.
Precisely. That's why Singleton Multihilo is so crucial here. It guarantees that there's only one configuration instance for the entire application, ensuring that all threads are singing from the same hymn sheet, so to speak.
Okay, so instead of having multiple chefs with their own interpretations of the recipe, we have one master chef, one source of truth that everyone follows.
Exactly, and that makes everything so much smoother and prevents a lot of potential headaches down the line.
This is making a lot of sense, but I think it would be really helpful to see how this actually works in practice. Our source material uses that example of a configuration class, right? Could we maybe walk through that and see Singleton multi-hilo in action?
Absolutely. Let's dive into the code a bit. The heart of the magic lies in how we create and access our singleton instance. And in the provided C++ code, this all revolves around a special method called getInstance.
So this getInstance method is kind of like the gatekeeper to our configuration settings.
Precisely. Whenever a thread needs those settings, it goes through this getInstance method.
So it's like a mandatory checkpoint that all threads have to pass through.
Exactly. The first time this getInstance method is called, it does a quick check, sees if an instance of the configuration class already exists.
Kind of like peeking into the pantry to see if someone's already in there.
Exactly. And if there isn't an existing instance, the method creates one. But here's where the real magic of Singleton multi-hilo comes in the mutex.
Right, the mutex. We talked about that earlier as a way to control access and prevent those culinary collisions. So how does that fit into our getInstance method?
Well, the mutex acts like a lock on that pantry door we were talking about. So when a thread calls getInstance and actually creates the configuration instance, it also acquires the mutex, essentially locking that pantry door so no one else can enter.
Okay, so it's like putting up a sign that says, "Chef at work, do not disturb."
Exactly. And if another thread comes along while that first thread is busy with the configuration settings, it sees that the mutex is locked, that pantry door is closed, and it has to wait its turn.
So we're not just creating a single instance. We're very carefully controlling access to it with that mutex, ensuring that only one thread can mess with our configuration settings at a time.
You've got it. And this is where the elegance of Singleton multi-hilo really shines. It's a relatively simple concept. Create a single instance, control access with the mutex, but incredibly powerful in ensuring our applications behave as expected, even in these multi-threaded environments. Now, it's important to remember that no design pattern is a magic bullet, right? There are always going to be trade-offs, and Singleton multi-hilo is no exception.
Right. Every solution has its caveats. So what are some of the potential downsides or things we should watch out for when considering Singleton multi-hilo?
Well, one thing to keep in mind is those mutexes we were talking about. While they're great for ensuring only one thread is accessing our shared resource at a time, they do come with a bit of overhead.
Because each thread has to essentially wait its turn to grab that mutex, right? So could that potentially slow things down, especially in a really high traffic scenario where we have tons of threads all trying to access those configuration settings at once?
That's exactly right. It's like having a very efficient but very strict bouncer at our pantry door. If you have a huge rush of chefs all needing something at the same time, that line could start to back up and things might slow down a bit.
So it's a trade-off between safety and speed, like so many things in software development. We gain that order and predictability, but potentially sacrifice a bit of performance in high-demand situations.
Precisely. It's all about choosing the right tool for the job. If you know you're going to have massive concurrency and performance is absolutely critical, you might need to explore alternative approaches or think carefully about how you optimize your Singleton multi-hilo implementation.
So it's not a set-it-and-forget-it solution.
Mm.
It requires some careful consideration and planning to make sure it's the right fit for our application's needs.
Exactly. But when used strategically, Singleton multi-hilo can be an incredibly powerful tool for managing shared resources and keeping our multi-threaded applications running smoothly.
Absolutely. It's been fascinating to really dig into this design pattern, from understanding the challenges of multi-threaded environments to seeing how Singleton multi-hilo brings order to what could easily become a very tangled mess.
It really highlights how important it is to think carefully about how different parts of our applications are going to interact, especially when we're dealing with shared resources and the complexities of multi-threading.
And it's a great reminder that there are often elegant solutions out there, even for seemingly complex problems like managing concurrency. We just need to know where to look and be willing to really understand the tools at our disposal. So as you continue to explore the world of programming, keep those critical thinking skills sharp. Analyze your specific needs, and always be on the lookout for elegant solutions that can bring harmony to your code. Until next time, happy coding.